Good morning.
Good morning, and how are you today? I know you're not. You're gonna say okay, but I know you're not. So
Well, I'm having internet connection issues, so if you see that my mouth is not following my voice, it's because I'm kung fu fighting, like I say all the
yep,
time.
yep.
Um, yeah, so I'm hoping that I'm not gonna get kicked out of the studio. Apparently, I'm not the only one who's having issues. We have Stephen and Ivan are going to be with us today, and Stephen is having also issues. So bear with us, guys. If we're in and out, that's why. You know why.
Yeah,
So I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. I've had a interesting weekend. I left to Cornwall and went out on the property Thursday night, and I came back yesterday, and I put the whole seeker together out in the
In the
boonies,
boonies.
as I call it, and my internet was good. No, it was nice. You know what? I always go out there and I feel like I'm on a mini vacation. It's like a
Yeah.
different world. It's nice.
Well, that's great because now you're going to permanently be on a mini vacation because you'll be living
Exactly.
there. So that's great. Yeah.
Exactly, and I'm gonna just apologize if I start coughing or something because we're doing the painting and well, plastering, so there was still dust everywhere. So I didn't realize how much dust I had inhaled until I got here and started, coughing and getting it out because plastering this dust and now we're painting and it's exciting. Now it's starting to happen.
Yeah,
So
it is. Well, I've been busy too this weekend. I mean, I've visited the Easter show on Saturday. It was really awesome. There was a lot of vendors and there was a lot of activity.
the
Everybody
we
was
three
happy.
yeah, the we three
Yeah,
girls at the Cornwall Square, they always have an awesome show. I think there was over 100 vendors, right?
yeah, it was packed, and I went like fairly late, like almost at closing time, and everybody was still going, and there was plenty of stuff left, and everybody was happy. They had a great day. I was going around taking pictures, and everybody was like just fantastic. They were yeah, they had a fantastic day. So that was good to see. That was a great success, and it's always awesome to see um, the space at the mall being utilized,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Yeah.
they're doing different things, and it's great. And then I visited Full Bellies, the store, on Thursday,
And you did a
and
Where's Julia? And
yeah,
somebody, they did guess finally, because I think
one
a lot
person,
of people,
yes, yeah,
somebody thought you were at Harvest.
yeah. So if you don't know what Full Bellies is, it's I think they're pretty much a non-profit organizations, and they have a store in Saint Isidore, and they buy and resell fruits and veggies. Those fruits and veggies are perfectly good, like they're great quality. Sometimes you might have some little things that are bruised, and but still great to eat.
Hmm.
And you get a ton of veggies for a very decent price. I did my unveiling. If you go on our Facebook page, you'll see my video there. I have the unveiling of the box, and this is the box that I got. If I can go back and show you, I want to see. Yeah, here it is. I'm
It's,
going to show
oh
you.
my
This
God, it's
this
packed.
is the box I got, and it's jam packed with fruits and veggies. And I had all sorts of things. And what's really cool is that I get stuff that I would not normally necessarily eat
Yep.
or
So
or
you,
cook.
yeah, so
So
you get to try
I
new stuff.
yeah. So in this box, I had artichokes. I've never cooked an artichoke. I've eaten artichokes, but I've
Uh-huh.
never cooked an artichoke. So I don't know. That's going to be something I'm going to be doing.
Okay,
And
so if you cook it, let me know how it goes because I bought an artichoke. I heard that they're really good for you, and it sat in my fridge because I didn't know what to do with it, and then I ended up throwing it out, which I don't like doing. So
oh
let me know how to cook it and how it comes out because I would love to.
yeah,
They're supposed to be super healthy for us.
yeah, and you see that this is my effort of not throwing things out
Mm-hmm.
anymore. So I'm doing my meals. I'm making sure that like I freeze anything that I don't eat. And so I make a very concerted effort to cook everything that's in my box, like to utilize everything that's in my
Yeah.
box. And so far, I've done very well. I've done it like I've cooked acorn squash this
Ah,
past week that I had in there, which I had never done before, and it was delicious. I really liked it. And then this time it's going to be kind of challenging because I have the artichokes that I'm going to be doing, and
what's
then
that?
so that's a cabbage, but it's like the curly cabbage. Like I don't.
Okay. And that? What is
This
that?
this is peppers, shishito peppers. I've never had those before. They're
Wow.
apparently mild, so I'm gonna try them. But the other thing I have is dandelion. Like I've never
Dandelions?
dandelion. Like I have a bunch of dandelion to. I guess
Oh,
you eat it in a salad or stuff, So
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, anyway, so if you have a chance, they deliver to Cornwall every Saturday, I believe. You go online on their Facebook page, you can there's an order form, just do the order form. Look at this. These are apparently lychees. I've never
Wow.
had those. Like I don't even know what to do with this, but anyways,
Well,
I'll
from
discuss.
what I'm seeing, you've got a lot of stuff that's not normal stuff that you would pick up at the grocery store.
Yeah,
That's really
and
awesome.
that's a choice that I make. Like when you fill out
Yeah.
the form, it asks you, do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want any other stuff that is exotic that you've never had before? Like unconventional things, or you can stick to
Yeah.
conventional. You can like it's totally up to you what you. But I love it because it's like I'm like a kid at Christmas when my belly box comes. I'm so excited to see what's in there, and like it's totally awesome.
That's exactly what I was going to say because that's what you look like, a kid opening a Christmas
I
present.
I totally am.
What's nice is it looks like a bottomless box. It's like you just take them out more and
It's just
more and more and
insane.
more.
It's
It
insane.
just
Yeah.
doesn't seem
And
to
I
stop.
had fantastic strawberries this time around and
Wow.
grapes and peaches. It's terrific. And my box, like okay, that big thing that you just saw, that's $50.
That's amazing. So basically yours was fruits and veggies. Now can you get meats too, or like what do
Yes,
you
you
how
can
does
you
that
can do
work?
a top up of meat, and I've actually bought some of their steak on Thursday when I was there.
Okay.
Um, I bought I think it's a rib steak. I'm not sure, but anyways, there were two bigs. It's $10. There are two big steaks. I made a
Wow.
fantastic pepper steak with it. It's yeah. So you can there are some meats that you can buy. It's not like you can't do your grocery there. Like that's
Yeah.
not. It's mainly for fruits and veggies, but there are some items that you can get. They have chicken, they have some steak, they have I think they have ground beef too, and all is from local farms.
So it
So
sounds like the even the
so
meats
you're
are
supporting
like you're
health.
sounds
And
like
the
they're
fruits and
really
veggies
good.
too, she tries to source them from, local farmers
Yeah.
and local areas. So
I mean, basically the thing is when you go in there, the prices are really good. Obviously, 2 pieces of steak for $10. Holy cow.
it was awesome. And the steak was like great. It was really, really tender, really good.
And that's in Saint Isidore, the actual stores
Saint
in there.
Isidore. Yeah.
What kind of hours do they have? Like, are they open all the time or?
You can look at their website, fullbelly.ca, and
Okay.
all the hours are there. And they have several places. They don't just do it. They're not only in Saint Isidore. There's several
Oh.
locations, and the Saint Isidore store. Like if you look at the pictures I posted, they have like all sorts of things. Like they have a lot of
Mhm.
crafters that are displaying their stuff there. There's
Mhm.
artists. There's a thrift store. Like it's just a great place.
I'm gonna have to try and get out there myself. Well, I was actually downtown Cornwall last Wednesday. They had a welcome spring event going on. Stores were open from 5 to 9. So I did a tour from one end all the way through to the other, every single store that was open. And it was awesome. Like I posted, I think about 43 pictures and I got so many
Hmm.
comments. But you know the scary comment, Julia? We didn't realize we had so many great stores downtown.
Oh wow.
So I was
Yeah.
surprised. I was surprised. I went in and out of every single one of them, and that wasn't even all of them because some weren't open till 9.
Yeah.
So folks, if you have a chance, go downtown Pitt Street, downtown Cornwall.
Absolutely. There's great stores for items, and there's great restaurants. Like um,
Mhm.
my son and I visited the Spicy Pearl on Saturday, and it was funny because
Oh,
Mateo he loves the Spicy Pearls spring rolls. Like it's his
okay.
favorite spring rolls in the entire world, and he's had spring rolls everywhere, and I mean literally everywhere.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've had green curry in a lot of places, and their green curry is like some of the best curries I've ever, tasted. Anyway, so Mateo goes to Spicy Pearl and he goes to Rogers and they're like, "Can I get 6 spring rolls, please?" And Roger goes, "Nope, you can't." So Mateo was like, come on, you're just joking, right?" Like, he's like, "No, seriously, I don't have any." They're all gone. It took Mateo aback because he was like, "What? What do you mean I can't have any?"
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, well, I've never eaten there. Well, we taste tested their stuff once and it was awesome, but my only fear, and like a lot of people, because of the name Spicy Pearl, might be put off because they think it's spicy food, but it's not, right?
oh, it's
Because
not.
it's just spicy to them means flavorful, and if
Yeah,
you want
well, it
spices
does.
added, they will. Because
Yeah,
yeah, because my heartburn situation was can like won't allow me to eat spicy, but their stuff is not spicy. It just means flavorful, and it is.
yeah, yeah. Anyways, so
I
that's
do
the
have
wrap.
I do have one quick thing. I want to remind everybody to stop in at the Kleinhaus Art Gallery. There's a show on only till this Saturday, April 1st. It's the world is a camera, and it's the work of Francois Desjardins and Jessica Sarrazin at 204 2nd Street East. Hours are Thursday to Saturday, 10 to 4. And stop in because the show's only on for this week. So check it out.
Okay, will do.
Anyway, that's our recap.
Okay. Yep. And so we have the boys today, Ivan and Steven. Hi, guys.
Oh, Ivan, you've done some renovations, I see.
Yeah, yeah. Not my home. I'm staying at Liberace's house right now. I see the piano behind me. Yeah, I
Very nice
wish.
He's moved
to have a
uptown.
fireplace like that.
Yeah.
So today we are
Mhm.
going to, usually we have we laugh and it's a very, very fun talk that we have with the guys. But today we're going to talk about something a little bit more serious, actually, a lot more serious. It's the human trafficking. Ivan actually went to a conference this past week and he's got some startling news and we want to share it with everybody. So, what exactly is human trafficking, Ivan?
Yeah, so they made it clear that trafficking and smuggling is two different things. If you smuggle people, you bring them over and good luck. Trafficking is when you use people. So you might use people for labor. So I don't know, let's say you have a vegetable farm or tobacco or whatever. You bring people in, go, I'm going to fast track your refugee status, all that. You garnish all their papers, and then they start working for you at a good salary. And then you tell them, oh no, it costs more than that to keep you here and all this. And that's when you start doing the, the manipulation and the coercion and all that kind of stuff. So for labor, it's that you withhold their papers, you tell them that you're going to talk to immigration, they'll be deported, you're going to stop their family from coming over. You do all these tactics to scare tactics to keep people working for you for nothing. So they're slaves, or and in that way. Um, for sex trafficking, it's the usual grooming process and all that. But today with the internet, most of it is done that way. So they groom you through the internet, but they might also see you on a bus or on a train or something and start doing the whole process. So there's all kinds of applications on the phone, and I mean on your phone or your computer, and there's things, and so those who prey on children will go to those sites where children exchange things amongst themselves, such as pictures or ratings or all this kind of stuff. And they know how to go there. And often the person that is targeted will have, low self worth, comes from maybe a broken home, not doing so well, has different, what do they call that? Like higher risks. So So they'll typically get on there and go, "Oh, you're so beautiful," na 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 na, all this kind of stuff, and and they'll pretend that they're your age, and that what was shocking to me was the typical age was 13.
Wow.
So
Wow.
13 years old, and one of the women who did a testimony had that done to her when she was 14. Her story, I believe, is featured in the newspaper in the pre-older this weekend. But in her case, she got on a bus, and this was in the U.S. She was on the bus, and this guy come and sat with her, and he was an attractive guy, and he started complimenting her and all that, and she said that afterwards she realized that this was all pre-planned. He had spotted her way back, followed her, and then it's all the grooming. You buy them nice stuff, you seduce them, and then you start turning things around. You involve them in sexual acts that they normally wouldn't indulge in, you to desensitize them because you're going to exploit them pretty soon, and then you exploit them, and then you often is paired up with keeping them drugged so that they can tolerate what's being done to them, which in turn forms an addiction. And then if you want your feed your addiction, then you got to do what I tell you. And often they look malnourished. They're kept super tired. One thing that stuck with me was that one of the policemen said, if you sell drugs, you sell them one time and they're consumed. When you deal with human beings, you can use them over and over again. And that had lots of impact because it steals your soul. I mean, and here, I usually support men, but in this one, I'm going to knock men down because it's mostly men. There are women who exploit women, and there are men who abuse other men, such as the laborer and in the young boys for sexual favors as well. But what a human being does to another human being for money just tears my heart away. I'm looking at just on top of my desk, I had this thing on fentanyl. We have homelessness, we have human trafficking. All this crap is going down in our region, and they're interconnected. Um, One of the things that was mentioned was like, if you're close to homelessness and you've got nothing to sell, well, guess what you sell? So now you're selling your body to pay your rent,
Mhm.
and you're probably so emotionally twisted and no self-worth because you're doing that. And then if someone says, well, we're going to tell your family about it, the stigma of all this, what do you do for a living? And then, you drug up to stay numb or whatever. And I mean, there's predisposing factors. Some of them have been abused in the past and all that. But to overcome all this, I don't know. It's a lot of rebuilding, and these people talked about their trauma, and you saw in them the impact it had. So I think for parents out there, be aware of what your kids are doing on their computer. Walk by and check out the applications and stuff like that. Also, the codes to chat. So I'll just give you a couple of them. So 1174 means party meeting place. Let's see, I want to skip some. Okay, POS means parents over shoulder. So like quit talking dirty or whatever. So if someone puts POS, it means all my parents are nearby. Sugar pic is a suggestive or erotic photo.
Jesus.
KOTL means kiss on the lips. MIRL, let's meet in real life. PRON is just a rewording of porn. TDTM, talk dirty to me. The number 8 means oral sex. The code 9, CD9 means parents are around. IPN means I'm posting naked. LH6 means let's have sex. WTTP, want to trade pictures. So it probably starts with you want to trade pictures. And then DOC is drug of choice. TWD is texting while driving. GIPO, GYPO, get your pants off. And KPC, keeping parents clueless. So there's a whole like underworld of keeping the parents out of doing what you want to do. Which shocking too. I mean, so some of them are eventually that have been exploited time after time. Can be recognized. Some of them have certain tattoos. Some of them are branded like cattle. This kind of things. They're trafficked all around the 400 series. So the 401 from Montreal to Belleville and Toronto and Brampton, whatever, Ottawa. They come back, Ottawa, Gatineau. They do this circle on the 400 series. What's disturbing to me is that we seem to know who does it. It's organized crime. Now, the one thing that few of us found what is irritating is that they never gave us the profile of the abuser. We know what the victim typically looks like, and I'm curious to know why they didn't give us a profile of the abuser in this politically correct world. But anyways, there's a little hint of what my things are. So yeah, they go through the whole series, and typically they rent a car, and the girls are sitting in the back. They may look malnourished. They'll have fancy purses and jewelry and this kind of stuff. And it's funny how the whole world does things for money. It's sickening. So I mean, the world is motivated by three things, and if you think of any scandal as that, it's sex, it's money, or it's power, or somehow affiliated with those things. All right. Mm-hmm. So again, with the human being will take advantage of to put money in his pockets is if animals don't do that to each other, we think we're human, but we're far from humane, as you might see what I wrote in my article. What's disturbing is once you're in it, what's the out, right? So you have that stigma. You don't want to tell your parents, and they'll threaten to tell your family or hurt your family and all that. You're a 14-year-old girl, or whatever, 18, whatever. All your normal support resources, you're taken to a different town. You're used and abused, and that's it. Yeah, at first you're well groomed. Hey baby, you're the best. And they spend money in fancy restaurants, all that. Just do a few favors for me and that kind of stuff. And then it's like, if you don't do these favors for me, it transforms to that. And then you're brought into other girls. So the guy, he'll bring you home and there'll be other women around. And then everybody has to be careful what they say to one another. So you not really confirm that you've been exploited or whatever. But eventually you find all that out. And then your reward might be you'll be put in charge of other girls now, and that's because I like you out of all the best of the girls. And it's that kind of abuse.
A lot of psychological manipulation, and I assume that this takes place on a kind of a months long. The grooming part must be like months long, where they can, they evaluate how far they can push it or how far the girl will go.
Exactly. So other things that are done for trafficking, one of them, in other countries, this one not so popular here, but is also trafficking for organs like lungs and kind of
my Lord.
And forced marriages too. Sometimes they're trafficked for forced marriages. So it's all over the spectrum. But I mean, 70% of the women exploited are under 25 years old.
You were talking about the language, the codes, and I want to touch on I was reading about emojis. It said that according to research, the most prominent emoji indicator of trafficking are the rose, the rosette, the cherry blossom, the growing heart, the airplane, and the crown. The growing heart and the cherry, for instance, highlights the victim being trafficked is a minor, whereas an airplane relates that a person will be in town for a temporary amount of time.
Yeah.
So there are like emojis to watch for as well. So if your parents are out there, just like we have no idea. There's a whole dark web that's not even on the dark web, but it's a dark web on the web that we don't even know about.
This has been going way before the web, way before. Excuse me. Sorry. I know someone personally from out of the Ottawa area who was trafficked, and this is going back about 30, 35 years ago. And fortunately, she met someone who took her out of it. And she's a well-doing woman, doing well for herself, rather, and has her kids. So there is an exit on it. But I we talked about this at one time before, and I'm just looking at my phone here to the side. There's a documentary out that if anybody could download it, I don't know if it's on YouTube or not. It's called Not a Love Story, Pornography. And it's a film put on by the National Film Board. This goes back, I have to say, almost 40 years ago. And it has
Wow.
shown all these things, like Ivan was talking about the 400 series. And this is all way back when I was young, looking at this. And I got to say, very honestly, before that, I would read Playboy magazines. I would read, all these series until you see what they actually do to these poor young girls. And I also have two male cousins, who were forced into it because of their situation, like Ivan was saying, with drugs and everything else. And this is going back before our popular drugs today. And both of them regretfully died in the early days of AIDS, and they were pushed into it. So it's nothing new. It's just that as a society, we kind of turn a blind eye to it. We look at it and say, well, those kids got what they wanted. No, the kids don't ask for this. Nobody asked to be abused. I don't care what kind of abuse it is. So I think, now that it's coming more and more out, I think we all have to do our research into it and say, okay, now what's around us? What's happening? Like there's
Yeah,
signs.
but I think that yes, there was an existence for sure, but the internet has exacerbated the problem because now you have a hell of a lot more consumers of that
Yep.
stuff that
According,
they're giving.
according
Yeah.
to the APP, 98% of is internet, Snapchat, Instagram, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh,
So
I-
not really friendly to us, or my kids will Snapchat. So is everybody's kid. Take a second look, parents, because
Yeah, and I would assume that here in the area, because we are near a border and we are in that corridor of the 401, we're probably in a vulnerable spot. But Mai-Liis and I were talking, and yet, the kids are not aware that this is
Nope.
that's a thing. Like, how come we're not telling them in school that they have to watch for these things? Like,
So things, if you're next to someone and you see that they have numerous IDs or different credit cards and all that, looks malnourished, or you see a bunch of fast food paper wrappers in the car and the girls sitting there, these are all signs. And I guess the hotels are really cooperative with the policemen as far as being able to give some information.
mhm.
But the rate of convictions look like less than 1%. So some
Why
policy
do you
laws
think?
have to change because it's a complicated thing to prosecute
Is it
people
hard
for backlog.
to prove?
And I guess they move away, they move whatever it is. Like they didn't go into that because that would be their weakness that they would have to talk about. But to give us that statistic, to know that it's in this corridor, that it goes on, that it's organized crime, it's organized gangs, I would think you have the intel to know which gangs are doing it. You would think it would be easier to find and convict.
Mhm.
But all the tie-ins, people don't want it. Like the victims don't want to talk. They're scared
No.
for their families. They're scared for this. They're scared for the stigma. They're brainwashed, thinking that this is a good thing. Some of them don't see themselves as a victim. And in this world where we identify as whatever, then therefore, if I don't identify, then don't tell me I am. And I mean, there's all this stuff. It's a whole different world we're in.
Yeah.
And Steve, you're talking about your cousin or whatever. There, it was. Yeah, it's a whole different way of getting in and doing these things, and it's troubling. It's really disturbing, and to think that homelessness contributes to it. Drug use is like they'll give them drugs to stay awake, so they're on bennies and that kind of stuff, so they can perform more. It's sick. It's
I'm actually feeling nauseous just listening about this. I feel sick to my stomach. It's
Yeah.
oh my
so,
God.
so I know of one statistic. So Aboriginal women in Ontario are 4%. And I don't remember the number, but it was similar to this. And if I'm don't quote me, but it seems to be understood. But 50% of the people that are trafficked are from that 4%.
No issue believing that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
because
two
the friends are
thirds
vulnerable.
2/3 of the cases in the country take place in Ontario, around that 401.
Well,
Right.
I was looking yesterday on the internet, and actually, you were saying that the predators or whatever you call them are
Yeah.
not identified. But I saw there was a picture of one guy that was arrested in Ottawa on 26 charges, and they had actually put his picture out there so people can
Mm.
watch out for him.
So
Uh,
the first girl that spoke in her testimony, she got away because finally her pimp got arrested for drug trafficking. So when he was placed away, that was her out
that was her out.
of prison.
Okay.
She got to get away, and that was her out. Lucky for her.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
seriously, if you see like a 13 or 14-year-old with a kind of a well groomed guy, like wouldn't you kind of suspect something anyway?
Yeah, but how
I
many
I don't
people will do
They're
something?
made up to look 20 instead, right? And they falsify their ID too. So the one girl that did a testimony, she was 14, but they got her fake ID that said she was 21 or
Okay.
19 or something like that. So yeah, they cover their bases because they're going to make money off of you.
Yeah.
And so the detective, I believe it was her that talked to us about. So in Ontario, if you work for yourself in the sex trade, it's like allowed. You can't have a pimp. You can't advertise it a certain way. What you decide to do for money as your own with is legal. Like we call that service a help me someone
Escorts.
escort service.
Escort, yeah.
So
So you're telling me it's legal to be an escort in Ontario?
if you don't change your advertisement, if you don't, that's what I was told. So you can look it up. I don't want to be quoted up, but yeah, there's a law that says as long as you're not pimped out, it's not forced, you're not changing your profiles, all this kind of stuff. But anyways, some of them make $5,000 if they stay overnight. They make $5,000 a night. All right.
Yeah.
So for those who are pimping them out, they're do the math.
Wow.
And the fact that you use them over and over and over again, and the same thing for labor, you work them all crazy hours and they got nothing to say about it. It's like years ago there was a movie called Mate One, and it was in the States before it. It's why we needed unions, and you work at the mine and you had to buy from the store, but the money you made was less than it would cost you to survive. So you were always in debt to the store, so you had to work off your debt. And it's the same tactic today. They still do that. That oh, now you owe us because we flew you over here, but that cost
Yeah.
us. The lie and
Yeah. So those would be
Wow.
people coming from different countries who are seeking to move to Canada and stuff, right? Like
right,
I'm assuming a lot of South Americans.
I heard a lot of it is mostly Europeans,
yeah,
actually.
Slavic countries, Czechoslovakia.
What?
Yeah,
Oh wow, Eastern Europeans.
and
Well,
especially
Wow.
we're told we're going to be nannies and things like that.
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and apparently
Wow.
now with the war in the Ukraine, it's becoming even more prevalent that they're getting Ukrainian young girls out and they're getting stuck here doing the same thing here and in the States. And the way they bring some of them in, it's like, oh shit, but it's
Yeah, so Julia, I have a note here. The independent sex trade is allowed if they are consistent in advertising and clients.
Oh wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
I did
Jeez.
not know that. Wow.
Me neither. Wow.
Mai-Liis, we gotta start being secret chicks in a different way, maybe.
Yeah, well,
For
we're not
money.
even we're not even gonna go there.
So they were
Jeez.
saying about for those that are put up for
Wow.
labor, the employer takes back 90%. So they keep you at 10. They keep you poor all the time.
90.
Yeah, the employer sets it up that they take back. They'll give you a salary, but then you owe.
Wow.
They'll give you $1,000. They say, well, now you got to pay rent.
But you owe me back for rent and
Now you got
food
900
and whatever.
bucks. So
Complete
Wow.
slavery, really.
It is.
Keeping them
It
as
is. It's
slaves.
modern day slavery. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I've been watching
Yeah.
stuff on the word addict means slave, by the way, because when we used to do presentations on addictions, that's the word addict. So people used to have an addict or a serf or every like when we think of slavery, we think of typical USA, but prior to that, I mean, the Irish were slaves before the blacks were slaves, and every country has enslaved one another. With the human being is a terrible animal. The Spaniards did the same thing when they went to the islands and stuff like that. Like we've all had our turn to do it. We're all guilty of it some way if you look far enough back. And it's prevalent again today, which is mind blowing. That we think we're in the world of Oprah Winfrey and everybody cares and it's spiritual upheaval and we're all better human beings and we're working towards it, but there's still the dark underbelly going on and it's a terrible thing.
Yeah, especially like say the social media and the internet is just making it even easier.
Oh,
yeah. But what you were saying is so true. Like, that it's unreal that we're doing this to our fellow human beings. Like, how I don't understand. Like, I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror if I was doing something like that. Like, how can you live with yourself knowing that you're, destroying another person? Like, it's
well, like I said, they get groomed and then they get put in charge of other girls. So that's one way that you end up doing it to others is it was done to you, just like cases of pedophilia and stuff like that. It's just that's why things are cyclical. I used to
yeah,
teach changing directions, and it's that history repeats itself
Yeah,
if you
it
change
does.
anything in a family cycle. So.
Yeah, it does. I'm
unless you
I
can break that family cycle, of
Well, that's
course.
it. That's what it's called, changing direction. So it's undoing what's been done.
I watched this show. It's called The Mayor of Kingstown, and it's funny because it was partially filmed in Kingston. But in that show, there was this girl who's actually hired by the mafia, and she's really pretty. She's like, and she is used to turn like, prominent people and politicians, and she's used to manipulate these people. But then at some point in the show, they get rid of her. Like they just discarded of her like she's trash, right? And they give her to a biker gang, and that's exactly what happens. She gets to, be used for sex, and they drug her, and she becomes like, and she thought she was in charge, because she was being um, put on a pedestal. She was the best person to turn all these heads of states and stuff. And it was just very well exemplified how this is.
I had shared this with Steve a couple of weeks ago. That years ago, I came across a French newspaper, and it was about a frontier there in Rivière-Baudette, and how this guy, this was a father writing about his beautiful daughter, who ended up getting a job there as a dancer. She was the star of the show. They lifted her up to new heights. She was feeling like she was like Britney Spears rock star type thing. Everything was paid for, and then they drugged her and they used and abused her. And then when they were done with her, they gave her back to her father, and he was like, she's just, like
Destroyed.
a mess. Like she'll never be the same. They ruined her lives. They made money off of her. They destroyed her soul, and then they, released her. And well, that's what men do for money, and that money carries that currency that you would do that. I don't know. Your mom was not proud of you if you'd done that. There's
No,
no
no.
way that you should face your parents and go, I'm making a living. It's okay. Everybody's doing it. Like that's just wrong. Mm.
Yeah, it's got to be like, I don't know. There's got to be something wrong with these people that do this, that have no soul. Like they have no
They,
Conscience.
conscience.
they get
Thank
into
you,
it.
Kelly.
They get into drugs or whatever, into any, even like you look at organized crime and everything else that I've read about them, is once they're in, they lose who they are. So they become soulless. So but they will be very good to who's close to them. But who's
Hmm.
ever not in their immediate circle means nothing. They're a property. That's it. Once that property is no longer any good, you buy a duplex downtown Cornwall. Once it becomes a shack, you don't need it no more. You walk away. You sell it. But and No, and that's what happens with these guys. They and like I was saying at the beginning, it's not only guys. There's women that do it also, and those are the ones that I kind of look at and say, and I understand, and don't get me wrong, what I'm saying here. I understand the man in it because he's just he thinks with one head most of the time, and it's all about money and power. But when it comes to a woman to do this to another woman,
Mm.
or a man doing it to another man, this boggles my mind. I can see, and no, I can't see. I'm not going to say that. I I look at it, see a woman abusing a man or a man abusing a woman. It's one thing, but when you see a woman abusing another woman, just
Hmm.
because she's a woman and she's a property, this just drives any of this drives me nuts.
Yeah, because there's a level of understanding between, two women that
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
But they
yeah,
often act out of fear as well because they have to keep the girls in line because they're going to get it fed to them by their
yeah,
parents or whatever. If you don't keep the girls in line, if they didn't pay, if they didn't work the hours they're supposed to. I mean, the blame game goes on forever. I'd like to talk a bit about, there's the OPP has a detachment that will work uniquely on that. There's victim services in town as well to reach out to. In doubt, reach out to victim services and they'll know how to route you to the proper services. So people out there, victim services is a local establishment, that agency that helps victims of all kinds, including sex trafficking and that kind of stuff. So if you know someone, try to guide them to go there. They have therapists on hand and they have resources available, and they have safe places. They have also like a GPS type of monitor to know to keep you safe at all times. If something happens, they know where you are and where you've been. So they'll get you back on track and keep you safe.
But the main thing is, like, parents, you need to kind of educate their kids too on this. Because, like, say, I didn't know any of this, like, very little of this. And my stepdaughter had no idea that this kind of thing was going on in Cornwall. And she's 15. So she'd be right at that age.
Just think how easy it is too. If you know, like you're a kid with a kid's mind, it's hard for us to go back to 14 and without our life experiences and some maturity. I'm a guy, so we're supposed that we don't mature. But anyways, um, if everybody in school has Adidas leather running shoes or
Yeah.
whatever, and you're like, yeah, well, the guy told me for this, it's $50. It's a quick, you know, like sometimes, hey, without knowing that you're
Yeah.
devaluing yourself and you already have low self worth and you're not successful in school and you're not the number one hero at socially and all this kind of stuff. If you have low self worth and you're thinking, at least if I could look good with whatever bells and whistles, which we know as adults, it's not it's not the
Yeah.
go to. But when you feel insignificant and something will make you different, uh, that's part of the seduction too. I'm sure it's that. Oh no, you're going to fit in. We got your back. I remember taking a training about gangs, and the guy says, gangs they always say we have your back. He says that's because they're putting you up front, and who takes the bullet first is the people up front.
yeah,
And then he also said, the gangs will tell you all that we're here for you and all that. But when he would go to court, he was a detective. If he would go to court, it was the guy's mother who was behind him, going, oh, my poor Johnny, he's a good boy. He didn't mean it. Where was the gang? And then when you come out, the gang's waiting for you again to do the dirty work again.
yeah,
So, I mean, police have all this intel. Um, how come it's so tough to prosecute? I guess you have to have everything in place. And then, if you're organized like that, you probably have tons of money to hire the best lawyers who go on a
Yeah.
technicality. You looked in my car, you didn't have a search warrant or whatever it may be. But
yeah.
that's the sad part is that it's such a process to stop it when you're fully aware of it. Like, so I guess, like you said, Mai-Liis, is have parents, look over their shoulder and see what
Yeah.
they.
I know I will. I will educate my kids about it. Like, it's, I've talked to them about it a little bit before, but I'm gonna really sit down and have a discussion about this stuff. And I actually got a pamphlet from Maison Baldwin recently, and I want to go through a few common red flags. So if somebody has no ID, like Ivan was saying, they'll take away the papers, right? So no ID is a red flag. Tattoo, branding, burns, broken bones or teeth, mouth injuries, cuts and burns. Appearing malnourished or rapid weight loss. Sometimes they're only given one meal per day. Different attitude, new clothing, and new styles. If somebody is, if you're talking to a kid and they're avoiding eye contact, seeming to be hiding something and keeping secrets, and then exhaustion from working long hours, often 15 or 19 hours a day. So those are, and here it says, uh, well, human sex trafficking victims are very sensitive and vulnerable population to work with. They are often not aware that they are a player in the game and that they're low risk and high return, so high rewards for crime, for pimps.
Yeah.
So
So one way to, as a parent, is have you like, and it's the same thing when I do a study on suicide. Is if someone has a purpose, they do better. They're less seduced by that. So if you have to, I don't know, take care of a horse every day or a goldfish or a dog or whatever, or you have to contribute, take care of your brother, you're less likely to fall prey to this kind of thing. While when you go, I don't know what it's all about, and someone grooms you, you're like, oh, that must be it. Like, so
in
people
get
with
them involved
purpose,
in activities, sports and arts, and just keep them
yeah.
busy.
If I have to be there because we're going to the playoffs and I got to be there, whatever it may be, after school badminton, like it doesn't matter what.
Yeah.
If people are counting on you to be at something, then you have a purpose
Yeah.
and you don't
Yeah.
let people down, so you're less likely. So low self worth is definitely one. Like I approached the lady detective and I said, like, I know you said, but I mean, how many Mennonite sex traffic victims do you have? And of course, I'm being there isn't any because they look out for all of those things and they're less likely and the family values are superimposed and all this kind of stuff. Sometimes because of life situations, single parent home, working two jobs, there's nobody present, you don't feel significant, you're poor. All those other things are risk factors that contribute. But I would say like low self worth is probably one of them. And someone's going
Mhm.
to tell you what you want to hear about, your mother's so wrong, come and live with us, you'll be happier here, and all this kind of stuff, and oh, you're so beautiful. And when you're a kid, it's tough to have self-esteem. The least thing will tear you down, and they don't even know who they are yet.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to give you an idea, which is sad. But yeah, I'd say watch out for the internet. Look at those apps. Check for those emojis. Look for the tattoos and the branding marks. Like all those things are things that we have to be aware of and report. Report, or if you can talk to them, if you see this going on, approach them. And I mean, if they're like a 15-year-old with hyper amount of makeup and super high heels with a fur coat, maybe it looks a little suspicious to everyone. So because you probably wouldn't allow your daughters or mine, or we wouldn't let them dress that way. But I mean, they also learn to, put stuff in a pack sack, go off to school, they say, and then swap clothes later on. So keep them away from the predators, people, best you can.
Yeah. Well, and then you wonder why I want to have a tracker on my kids all the time.
Well, it's balance, right? But I mean, it's investing well in your kids. If they have purpose and they have self worth, they're less likely to.
Hmm.
And I mean, we have guys in our group that you can see who's been a victim and who's been a victim a long time. I used to say that when I worked with troubled kids and stuff like that. Some of them have victim marked on their forehead. Like, so the people who prey on people are very good at identifying that, like who would be easier to rope in, like, so, and money, I mean, that's why we show up at work. That's money is a great motivator for a lot of people, which is sad.
Yep.
But
Somebody is asking what professional field you're in, Ivan. You want to answer that question?
what
Because you
field am I
seem
in? I'm 2 months away from retirement field because all of this is yet to wear me down. Um, I'm a community health agent, but I did do intervention work at the Kipsko Society prior to this, and I did do some psychoeducation with men's groups for the Change Directions program and that kind of stuff. So I've always been kind of made aware of stuff going on. I used to go to youth conferences in Niagara Falls with the police and that, and it was there about gangs and all that kind of stuff. So it's just lots of years in that I've accumulated a lot of that. But to be honest, like this trauma is wearing me down. So now I don't know, even like now we have a bunch of refugees. They said how it's going to affect tourism. Like there's always an after effect to no matter what you do, the housing, the this, the that. It's getting to be a world where I don't know. It's bleak. They talk about youth with the Great Resignation, and I can see it. Like people are going to get pushed to the point and go, what for? The American dream or the Canadian dream is different than it was. Like, after the Second World War, it was like, yeah, you got a Veterans Land Act, you got cheap land. If you work at a mill, you can buy a house, you can have a car, you can have a dream. It's a little tougher go in the last 10 years. Have doubled in price and salaries went up 3%. I don't know, people on pensions and disability. Hey, when you're thinking, who would have thought that Cornwall, like a bachelor apartment, would be $1,200?
Oh,
I know, it's insane,
crazy.
man. Like, I mean,
So-
even food has gone up like 3 times, and my salary has not gone up 3 times.
I'm glad you said that because those roaster chickens you buy like pre-cooked.
Yeah.
So when I got divorced in 2012, you get 2 of them for $8.99. Now they're
Wow.
$9.95 for one.
For one.
For
Yeah.
one.
Believe
Yeah.
me, my salary didn't double since 2012. Believe me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the same thing, housing doubled in price. Like, so how do you do the same with half? And for people who are on minimum wage, gladly it's going up again, but all that creates a shift too, So, but the economy seems to be booming all the same. Restaurants are full, stores are moving product.
And you got to say, like, grocery stores are reporting higher profits than ever. Like, I mean, you've got to think that there's greed somewhere.
At $9
somehow,
for butter, I believe it.
Well, I'm gonna give you an example because our cats have 3 cats, very spoiled cats. They eat those little Friskies tinned food.
Right.
They started off at 85 cents. I saw them at one store, $1.85 for a container, and that's.
They said we're getting off topic, but real quick, they said, "Oh, inflation went up 11%." Bull. Every product, every food product was doubled in price.
Yeah.
And even if it's a dollar product and now it's $1.25, well, that's 25%. It's not 11. Nothing went up 11%.
No. Oh no.
Well, 85.
These sausages I used to buy, they used to be like $1 each. Like they were jalapeno cheese sausages, and they're awesome. I could cook a meal with that for my kids. Anyways, they're $2.97 now. From 99 cents to $2.97. That ain't no 10%.
So to tie this in, so we get back on things. So
Yeah.
run out of money at the end of the month, and you got nothing left to sell. And it's funny. It's not funny. It's ironic because I used to say that when I worked with troubled teens. When you watch out what happens to you, because when you have nothing left to sell, what do people sell? And the were girls that were probably predisposed to that. So be careful. That the low self-esteem, the no presence of a father in their homes, and all this stuff that contributes.
And the fact that everything looks bleak right now.
Yeah.
That doesn't help. When you don't see a future, you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, you're more prone to making the wrong decisions. So anyway.
And not knowing at the time that you are of value, and the things that you do will devalue you long term if you think, oh, it's only for a month or a week or a day or whatever it may be. I remember reading the biography of the girl. She did the movie Deep Throat, and she said Linda Lovelace. That was like 2 hours and 3 days out of her life. That's it. That's after that, and it ruined her entire life. Everything was based on that, and she was coerced. She took a beating from her kid boyfriend, but that was 3 days of her life. But if you say Linda Lovelace, everybody, oh, that's the movie.
That's what she's known for. Yeah.
That's right. And 3 days, like it was, quick filming, whatever it was,
Wow.
and they made millions of dollars, and she got, I don't know, it was like $16,000 out of it or whatever. But they made millions. I think they said at the end of the biography, like they made 25 million just reselling
Jeez.
that movie out of, again, of someone else's, So people who profit from others. Anyways, like it was tough, that conference, because there's a void in these people's life, even though they're recovering and they're doing okay. There's a part of their soul, to me, I shouldn't be entitled to say that. When things like that are done to you, and we've seen in some guys in our group, there's something that will never quite be okay. Like
There's a piece of the puzzle missing forever.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they say to leave the past in the past, but sometimes that's difficult in
Wow.
that kind of case.
I would say easier said than done. And then,
Yeah.
even if your life's on track, and at one point you have to tell your new partner that, because someday someone will come up to you, go, "Hey, you're still working and then you're gonna explain." So you have to be transparent, and then to find a partner who understands and accepts that, and it's never going to be an issue. Wow, it's a lot, for everyone.
Well, with the internet, there's nowhere to hide anymore. Everything is
Yeah.
right there. Like everything's documented. Everything is, findable.
So
So yeah, it's
I
different
read
world.
lots of biographies, and like, be careful what you wish for, because like, famous people. Oh, it looks sweet. It looks like they own the house behind me there, but
Yeah.
I'd rather live in a small house in the creek and nobody bothered me than be famous like these actors that
Yeah, I'm with you there.
don't care what they do, what they say, and how they behave.
Yeah, our lives are a lot simpler.
I like it.
Where is Liberace in your house, by the way? I'm expecting him to come out and sit at that piano.
Yeah, I think he's been gone for a while there, Mai-Liis. For people who don't know what it is, there's your channel. Look it up. He was a great.
There you go.
Anyways.
All right, guys. Well,
Wow.
it's been a little less motivating than usual today, but it was an important topic, and I'm glad we talked about it. I want to thank you both for being with us today, and we'll see you in a month.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
And hopefully it'll be a bit lighter of a subject when we talk next.
We'll talk about menopause. So
Yeah,
it should be
yeah,
good.
that should be good.
The greenery getting tore down around Cornwall, and no one worrying about where all those little beasts are going to go.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
for what? For profit. Take care.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, that was a heavy topic to start a Monday morning, but it's like I said, it's an important one, and I think there's not enough people that know about it. So
And they don't. Like we
raise
were
awareness.
lucky we went to that presentation, that 100 Women Who Care, and that
Yeah.
they talked about it, but again, not in as much depth as what we heard right now, because Ivan
Yeah.
just went to a conference recently and everything was fresh that he was told. Holy cow. But the problem is kids from 13 and up are not aware.
Yeah.
There's a
And
lot of kids
I
that are
sure
not
hope
aware.
that I sure hope that they start going into schools and raising
Yeah.
awareness.
And that's one place you would have thought that people would be talking about this, because again, when you're a teenager, you're invincible. Like, you figure nothing's going to happen to you. You go
Of
out for a
course.
walk at night, it's dark, nothing will happen. But then as you get older, you realize how many risks teenagers take
Yeah.
that they shouldn't be. We used to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. For sure, you're invincible.
wow.
Anyways, Mai-Liis, do you have anything? Any final words?
No, I think we talked about everything before the show. I'm like, I'm still feeling nauseous right now because it's one of those subjects that wow, it just makes you
Yeah.
feel sick to your stomach.
Yeah, we unpacked a lot. We kind of have a
Wow.
full
And
belly wrong thing.
Yeah, and usually we end the show with the boys and we're laughing, and today it's like I have this knot in my stomach. I just feel wow, just not like I usually do when we have our show with Ivan and Steven. But like you say, it was an important topic. It needed to be talked about.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, anyways, that's it for us for today. We'll see you next week, guys. And so have yourself a great day.
and a super duper week.
Bye
Bye.
now.